Every year, deliberately lit fires rage through Southeast Asia. In the lead up to another burning season, the lives of 3 people from different worlds intersect. Indonesian palm oil farmer Achmadi sets fire to his land to feed his family. Danish-born wildlife activist Lone rescues orangutans from the burnt-out forests. And Dorjee, a young carbon trader from Australia, sets out on a mission that could stop the fires and provide a long-term solution to this growing global catastrophe.
Nggak bisa milih ya? Iya, paling turun orang ganja ini nanti. Tapi belum saya beli. Tapi nanti kalau saya beli juga, ini kan tanah kosong, jadi nanti kalau sudah buah sawitnya.
Achmadi lives on the Indonesian island of Sumatra in the province of Jambi, where almost half the forested areas have been cleared and burned for palm oil.
17-19 juta. Ya. Sah. Kebun kita ini kan diganti, kebun karet luar ini diganti kebun mau direncana tanam sawit. Boleh bakar ya akhirnya susah juga menanam kebun, karena kayu ini harus dibunuh nih, kalau tidak dibakar tidak mati. Mau pinjam alat berat yang katanya sewanya kalau per jam itu sekian ratus ribu, nggak sanggup.
The infernos from forest clearing that rage across Indonesia each year pour carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, contributing to climate change. In 2006, the smoke plume covered most of Southeast Asia with hazy, choking smog. Much of the smoke came from the Indonesian provinces in Kalimantan on the island of Borneo.
It's difficult to describe, but for me it is a little bit like a man-made tsunami. You literally come out there and everything is just gone. It looks like something has just swept over it and knocked everything over. I keep on thinking about it as the tsunami in Aceh. That was a natural disaster and we helped the victims. In this case, it's a man-made disaster and nobody except for us are helping the victims.
Danish-born Lone Drøscher Nielsen has set up a centre to rehabilitate orangutans injured and orphaned by the fires.
We have learned our lessons that if you get an information about an orangutan who might be sick, you better get there quickly. Dia mungkin sedikit galak karena dia tidak bisa lihat dengan baik. Itu bikin dia takut ya. Hey. Noah. Ya matanya berdua memang tidak bagus sama sekali. Dia masih di kami ada seperti tempat latihan. Di tempat latihan. Dan itu ada 50 hektar. Jadi dia jalan-jalan bebas di situ aja. Dia masih bisa kembali. Nanti bisa bilang sama Papa mau lihat lagi ya. Nanti bisa bawa ke proyek ya. Ke tempat saya. Nanti di situ dia bisa bebas di hutan lagi ya. It would really be nice to have a year where we might not have that many orangutans coming in. But I can see that down in a couple of years' time when there's no more forest left, meaning there's no more orangutans left, we're not going to be having any more orangutans coming in. And that's maybe only 2 or 3 years down the road.
Indonesia is now rated the world's worst in deforestation, filling an area as large as 300 football fields every hour. Because of this massive release of carbon dioxide, Indonesia now ranks as the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. In Bali, the governors of 3 Indonesian provinces, Aceh, Papua and West Papua, meet to take action. They want to find ways to stop logging and burning in their provinces.
Someone in this room last year came to me with a crazy idea. He said, let's bring the governors of Papua and Aceh together to talk about forests and climate change. And I said, that's so complicated and they're at opposite ends of the country. How will we ever make that happen?
A young Australian entrepreneur, Dorjee Sun, has come to meet them.
We're going to try and actually get something signed off before everything happens. So, in effect, changing or flipping over this meeting from being something which is going to be a lot of talking heads to something where we can direct our energies because we've actually signed something.
At 29, Dorjee has a law degree and has set up several successful companies. He sees a business opportunity in the forest crisis that could protect the environment and save wildlife.
So I'm here today talking from the perspective of carbon conservation, which is essentially trying to, as Joe said, kickstart this market. Except we're looking at voluntary markets. If you drive your car in Australia and you drive it for a year, the emissions from that car, which is estimated to be about 4 tonnes, can be offset for $40 to a company which will then plant 17 trees. So there is this opportunity because this is a global problem.
Dorjee's grand plan involves reversing the global trend of deforestation, which is sending vast amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and fueling climate change. The challenge is to find alternative incomes for those who depend upon the forests for their livelihood. Forests absorb and store carbon. Because of climate change, carbon is increasingly being traded in world markets, giving forests a new value. Dorjee's plan is to take advantage of this opportunity. The carbon value of untouched forests could be sold to big polluters in industrialised countries. They need ways to offset their carbon emissions by buying carbon credits elsewhere. But for the plan to work, money raised from carbon trading has to go back to the people who live and work in the forests. They could be paid to protect the forests instead of cutting them down.
Because what we're doing is so new, we needed to gain public acceptance, particularly because it's so big. Like when you talk to someone about, hey, no one else in the world is doing this, but it's potentially worth billions of dollars, people kind of are surprised and not sure as to whether or not they should believe you. So we decided the best strategy was to beat the bushes, let all the birds fly up into the air, and then we'll then selectively target who we need to work with.
Dorjee has set up a fledgling company, Carbon Conservation, with a small team to realise his vision. John O'Niles was an advisor to the Coalition of Rainforest Nations. Mark Jackson supervised a major carbon trading deal in Australia with mining giant Rio Tinto.
Was there anything else you needed to add into this proposal before 3ish?
No, we've got 40 minutes, so I'll be able to just do the numbers here. I just did the key assumptions and then we'll do that.
Okay.
At $3 per ton it equals this,
Yep.
at $8 per ton it equals this.
Need to lock them into us as the provider of services.
Get that, you're happy.
Dude, I'd be over the moon, but I don't think we're going to get it.
Dorjee is hoping to get the governors to sign an agreement, giving his company the sole right to trade the credits from their forests on the global carbon market.
Okay, this is how many tons of carbon. You know, if you register today, you can buy 100,000 tons.
I wasn't even aware of the carbon credit. Don't worry about that.
No.
Well, what I had in mind, how to save the forest. My forest is, relatively good, I want to save the forest, no matter how. And you are the experts.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Dorjee's strategy is successful. All 3 governors signed the document he needs to get the ball rolling on his carbon trading deal.
This is the letter of intent?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a historic document. 3 governors have committed to reducing deforestation as long as they get the carbon credits, and Dorjee got it across the line with the sign.
And then the part that we love, Carbon Conservation Proprietary Limited will be the preferred supplier of carbon trading and marketing services to projects within the provinces of Aceh, Papua and West Papua. So that's the cool thing.
Which means we're talking about somewhere between 300 and 500 million tons of carbon credits.
With his first victory in the pocket, Dorjee now needs to find investors to sign up to his carbon trading deal. He set himself a deadline. The next United Nations Climate Change Conference will be in Bali in 7 months' time, and Dorjee hopes to announce his first significant deal at the conference.
The business model of this business is so cool. It's the more forests we manage and protect, the more money we make. I mean, bring it on, baby. Like, if we could have millions and millions of hectares under our management protecting forest and farming carbon, this could be a hugely profitable and yet hugely well-intentioned company that does good,
If Dorjee's venture succeeds, it could save the orangutan's habitat and help reduce climate change. But the scale of the problem is enormous.
Using fire to clear forest is illegal under Indonesian law, but the legal system doesn't work here.
Conservationists like Patrick Anderson have been grappling with the problems of stopping the fires and protecting forests for the past 30 years.
I'm wondering if it might be possible for this fund also to present some alternatives for small farmers, who've got 10 or 20 hectares of land. And
yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, getting involved local farmers, or at least so the benefits flow into the community.
That's still a way where you can get...
While Dorjee formulates his strategy, Achmadi, the palm oil farmer, has his own dilemmas.
Terobosan lagi, kebun-kebun yang sudah tua yang kita punya kan kita tanam dulu, meskipun dengan cara bakar kan. Ya memang itu caranya yang bisa kita lakukan ya.
Mama yang sana ya.
Achmadi wants to increase his output to put his daughter through school. He's unaware that he and millions of others like him are like white ants stripping the forest bare. With demand for palm oil set to double by the year 2020, large corporations are moving into untouched forest areas. Palm oil is used in cooking, cleaning and cosmetics, and increasingly as biofuel in a world hungry for alternative energy. To meet the demand, forest areas half the size of Tasmania are being cut down every year.
I'm not at all against palm oil. I just want it to be done on open lands, on open grassland, degraded forest. Let the forests that are still there, let them stand. That's all we're asking for, really. First orangutans I met here in Indonesia were small infants that had been orphaned. With 640 animals, we are approximately 50% overcrowded. I've had anything between 12 to 25 orangutans in my house for the last 6 years. I only managed to actually have that house for a couple of months by myself before it got invaded by orangutans. So
Lone plans to release the rehabilitated orangutans back into the wild. The only forests safe from logging are far away, making it a complicated and expensive operation.
It's sometimes like being in a room with 4 walls, and wherever you turn, you walk into a wall, and you can't find the door. There is no door out, and there's not even a window you could open. And that's how it feels like sometimes, and it burns you out.
What can we do in this situation that's actually going to make a difference now, this year or next year? Because forests don't have that long. Already, I think Indonesia has converted about 2 or 3 million hectares of peat forest to plantations. And there are plans now for millions more hectares of the peat forests to be converted. And this will be a disaster for the world's climate if that happens.
I really used to admire explorers, like the attitudes which was, this is my ship, I'm taking it out there and we're going to discover something. We went to Aceh. There was a whole bunch of different NGOs on the ground, and we're trying to work out how to make it financially viable to have a moratorium on deforestation. And we also got an opportunity to fly in a helicopter, which went over about 1 million hectares of untouched forest.
Aceh is on the island of Sumatra. A 30-year campaign for independence from Indonesia's central government has had the unexpected effect of keeping out the big logging companies from the untouched rainforest. The tsunami that hit Aceh in December 2004 killed 130,000 people and left 500,000 homeless. Irwandi Yusuf was a rebel fighter in jail at the time the wave hit. His prison was washed away, but he survived and helped negotiate the peace agreement that ended decades of conflict. In early 2007, he was elected governor.
Rock and roll means spirit, anti-establishment. So keep making something change, make it different. Don't only stay in the office, go out, talk to the people, test your edge.
It's early on a Sunday morning, and Governor Irwandi heads out to a remote village to confront illegal loggers. He intends to personally enforce his commitment to stop logging.
The villagers also involved. The villagers, they do it. This is not tycoon, not a rich man, but some are getting rich. The illegal logging is two kind. Number one, for survival. Those poor guys, ex-combatant. Number two, greed, the greed. So I don't have any problem dealing with the greed. I can be very harsh. But dealing with the people who need to eat once a day, and for that they have to cut the tree. What should and what could I do?
Irwandi will need a major shift to occur in Indonesia for Dorjee's scheme to work. Forests will need to be seen as more valuable standing than chopped down. For this to happen, new revenue must be found for those who live near the forests. Finding this money is Governor Irwandi and Dorjee's next challenge. Governor Irwandi has come to America to tell investors Aceh is open for business after the tsunami. He's joining Dorjee to pitch the solution that Aceh offers to the carbon emission problems in the West.
Let me hurt your feeling a bit. And at the moment, we are providing free septic tank. Developed countries produce a lot of carbon. And we need something that can absorb the free carbon. And only the forest and soil under the forest could absorb the carbon. What I want is to start reforestation. Some financial assistance to start community forest. And I think within 6 years, we will have a bigger septic tank. Thank you very much.
To connect with what the governor just said, the pollution occurs in the Western countries. Now, if it can be connected to the forest or the septic tank of Aceh, we've also proposed to a number of coffee people that they can offset their coffee. So it's carbon neutral coffee. And you have a sticker on the coffee cup, which means that it's from Aceh, it's carbon neutral, and it's supporting the forests of Aceh.
If it comes out that the product was from, they cut down the rainforest to create the palm oil plantation or whatever, people won't go for it. And they won't go for it in Europe either.
That's not the case in Aceh.
Good.
That's the point. That's the selling point.
That's the selling point.
opportunity for
You have a
Aceh.
chance. You will put Aceh on the map all over Indonesia. They'll say this is the right way to do it.
Pressure is mounting on small farmers like Achmadi to stop burning. With his brother-in-law, Hari, Achmadi visits Wali, the local environment group.
Terus ini sebenarnya abang saya dengan ya keluarga saya kami ada planning untuk minggu-minggu ini mau bakar hutan gitu. Gimana menurut Walhi gitu tindakan kami ini?
Akan membakar hutan.
Bukan akan membakar, akan membakar lahan, membuka lahan dengan cara membakar. Sekarang penghasilan saya itu ya cukup untuk makan lah ibaratnya. Saya punya anak yang nanti ke depan untuk biaya sekolah.
Kalau kita hanya ingin membakar hutan untuk kepentingan kita untuk buka lahan, hanya untuk kepentingan kita, justru yang akan menerima dampak itu orang banyak. Dengan ada bencana-bencana asap itu.
For Lona, the crisis is escalating. Every week, more sick and displaced animals arrive. She has asked her former assistant manager for help.
We want to go out in a palm oil plantation that is cutting down the last 600 hectares. And I want him to go out there and document them cutting this last bit down and actually seeing us rescuing the orangutans, because that is proof to the Indonesian government that they are cutting down forest still, and there are still orangutans in those forests, and we have to move them.
The purpose of this trip is to gather the evidence, photo and films, video evidence about the orangutan habitat destruction. I undercover as the member of a rescue team, so they will. I think they will not suspect me. I know it is a very risky job, and it's like fighting against mafia. No, we are inside of the one of the palm oil concession of PT Makin. It's a home of 1,500 orangutan. I asked them, the plantation workers, the management, the staff, and they said that I know it's wrong. We're destroying the forest, we're destroying the nature, but we are only the workers. The decision not in us. There is a big invisible hand, a powerful invisible hand. It's the money. I estimate that at least there are about 300 orangutans in this area. So we rescued in the only 2 weeks. We rescued 18 orangutans. Actually, it's really sad to do it always again and again. It's like the endless rescue. Yeah.
Seharusnya yang kena sanksi ya pembakaran skala besar itu tadi.
dari PT-PT yang besar. Itu ya ditanggulangi bagaimana caranya itu.
Petani kecil ini menjadi kambing hitam. Jadi kalau kita memang Mas Achmadi nanti bisa ketemu gubernur, bisa ngobrol-ngobrol langsung sama gubernur, malah sebenarnya kenapa sih harus dibakar?
Karena orang seperti saya buat kebun ini bukan menjadi orang yang meneror, membuat asap basingan.
Time pressures are catching up with Dorjee. He wants to announce his first big deal at the upcoming climate change conference in Bali, but he has a problem. The original Kyoto Agreement did not include forests in its carbon trading mechanisms. And unless this changes, getting investors to consider forests for carbon offsetting is going to be a hard sell.
So then the reality becomes, you know, if you do create that free marketplace, how do you give that peace of mind or establish that trust in the mind of the consumer that they can, so that they can make these investments with confidence? So if it's not the UN who's going to provide that kind of certification or trust, who is it? And how do you, I think that's really the missing link. Because you can bring buyers and sellers together till the cows come home, but if no one trusts each other to exchange...
No cows, come home.
Yeah, exactly.
A major sticking point is emerging. The credibility of carbon trading as a concept is being questioned widely around the globe, particularly within the conservation movement. Patrick Anderson is one of the skeptics.
An industrial emitter, whether that's Australia or a factory in Australia, could, instead of making the investment to clean up their factory, they can buy cheap carbon from Papua at $4 a tonne and then not have to clean up their business back home. Also, the carbon then becomes theirs, theoretically, and they could sell it on the market, and so it might well be that the profits of the efforts in Papua or Aceh are actually going to be made as the years go ahead by you know, the large industrial companies and governments.
To build the profile and credibility of their scheme, Dorjee and Governor Irwandi need to get support from some big players.
Good. I'm Howard Schultz. Hey. Welcome to Starbucks. Thank you very much for coming.
Provinces such as Aceh, which are actively out there trying to create carbon, well, we call it carbon farming. So they're farming carbon instead of just coffee. Now they can farm both carbon and coffee and provide it to Starbucks.
I might come and work on the forest issue because I was excited about it when I was at the bank, and then when they told me, well, Indonesia's maybe the #1 candidate, that's another reason to be excited about it. This is actually one of the most inexpensive ways to reduce carbon emissions. So it's complicated, but it's really it'd be exciting.
Orang ini benar sebenarnya, maunya benar, dan politikus-politikus dunia yang peduli sama pemanasan global ini benar. Tetapi sistem pendistribusian bantuannya ke orang-orang seperti kita ini melalui pemerintah.
Terus lewat presiden, lewat menteri, lewat gubernur, lewat Pak Bupati, terus gini lewat Pak Camat atau LSM-LSM yang ada. Kita tidak kebagian, tidak nyampe, tidak disampaikan kepada kita ya.
Ya kita tetap bakar aja lah, ngapain?
Ya kalau begitu kan akhirnya kan.
Iya. Tarik, 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 dari tepi, ada yang dari tepi. Ayo, ayo.
I've always had an abiding passion for conservation, but I could never work out how to make it profitable. When the Kyoto process came through, there was a way to, one, stop climate change, and to make money. So I started looking really closely.
I think Dorjee is trying to say what we can buy is an option.
I'm just a little slow, so this is, it sounds very interesting. I guess trying to understand, well, first of all, how would we play a role, I guess is one question.
Yep.
And then two is, I guess, trying to still understand the economics.
After pitching, the avoided deforestation carbon credits, it's too difficult because there's too much uncertainty about the offtake. And so basically, after being rejected across the globe, 200 different people have heard my pitch about buying carbon credits to save forests, and very few of them have been prepared to write checks, and no one has been prepared to lead with a lot of money. So everyone knows that this is the topic of the moment. It's just a question now of converting it into a big deal.
Mau bertanya apa? Pada ngadu pada siapa? Tani kecil seperti saya ini hanya untuk ingin mendapatkan pendapatan untuk menghadapi larangan bakar hutan saja sudah takut nyalang kepala. Ya Allah, berikanlah jalan pada hamba-Mu ini, ya Allah. Demi melangsungkan hidup seorang Achmadi.
He seems to be very much driven to do something that really concerns everybody.
No love.
Like in this case, saving forest that's still there, indirectly making some difference to the climate change.
With his determination, he works so hard. Sometimes he doesn't even sleep in the night, But he's never given up. He says, Mom, I'll do it. We don't know where it comes from.
If Dorjee wanted a comfortable life, he would have found an easier way of doing it.
For the longest time, I've been pitching avoided deforestation carbon credits. In essence, kind of like taking an orange, peeling it, and then trying to sell the rind, because it's really risky, and these guys don't give a shit really about doing good. They just want to make their bottom line. So yesterday, I just totally rejigged the entire pitch.
Dorjee's new concept involves offering investors lucrative returns from cash crops grown on degraded land around the remaining forests, while at the same time earning carbon credits from protecting those forests. Armed with this new plan, Dorjee decides to team up with the global forest campaigners, Forests Now.
Well, here we're sort of in the heart of the carbon capital of the world here. If we can't get enough money to save forests here, we won't be able to get it anywhere. So
That's right.
Go off and do it. Okay.
Andrew has organised a meeting with one of the world's largest banks, Merrill Lynch, to pitch their new concept.
The carbon market is an opportunity for us to value standing rainforests as infrastructure. So if you think about it as global eco-infrastructure, we need forests for rain, for water, for oxygen, for CO2. And this project that we've inked out, over 30 years will avoid 100 million tonnes of CO2. And, some of the estimates have said that that's in the order of 50 million flights to London, from Sydney to London, So what we're actually doing is not only with the co-benefits with the community and the biodiversity, but we're actually really making a serious impact on climate change. Last year, the carbon markets were $30 billion. This year, it's estimated to be $60 or $70 billion, jumping up to about $250 billion. So it's just going to be this astronomical market. We knocked it out of the ballpark. They didn't let me out of the boardroom till like 8 p.m. And by the end of it, they said that they were prepared to move on literally hundreds of millions of dollars and sign an agreement by Friday so we could announce it to the whole world at the Green Governor's dinner. So I was like, And so I'm kind of delirious because I actually feel hopeful again. Because the longest year, man, look at this. Wow. It's not carbon neutral, I can't buy it.
Berhenti pas di depan gerbang gubernur. Gerbang rumah gubernur.
The conservation group Wali arranges for Achmadi and his brother-in-law Hari to meet with the local governor.
Bagaimana masalah hutan kita di sana masih?
Ya kalau teman-teman nampaknya ya kalau petani kecil seperti saya ya, saya lihat masih ada yang makar kan gitu.
Masih ada.
Cuman ya sekarang ini karena ada istilahnya larangan ataupun dari pemerintah jadinya ya ada cuma curi-curi ketakutan lah gitu Pak. Jadi
perlu kebersamaan. Perlu kebersamaan. Supaya hutan kita jangan jadi gundul dan bencananya kepada kita sendiri. Punya Bapak kan ada 4 hektar ya. Jadikan percontohan dulu. Sehingga kan ketika sukses, nanti sukses, apapun yang dapat kita bantu, itu bibit, membersihkan lahan, kemudian juga pupuk kita berikan.
Terima kasih Pak. Jadi mungkin nanti dari pertemuan ini, kalau ini sifatnya percontohan, saya istilahnya ada jawaban dari Bapak kan, saya terus senang. Terus.
The meeting with the governor has given Achmadi a wider view on the value of forests. The pilot project the governor offered promises incentives and equipment as alternatives to burning. But he still has to convince his family and community that using fire to clear land is no longer the best option.
Kepingin juga istilahnya menyelamatkan dunia ini kan gitu. Menyelamatkan dunia. Itu keinginan. Jadi aku kepingin juga akhirnya ingin berjuang untuk mengatasi masalah asap. Yang kemarin cuman pikirannya ponting aku pokoknya berkebun. Nak masalah asap, nak udah urusan aku kan itu. Tapi setelah ketemu Pak Gubernur, cerita-cerita macam, akhirnya kita sebagai manusia kan tertarik. Itu kan dari jawaban Pak Gubernur yang tadi malam itu, kalau untuk mengatasi asap, anggaplah di Jambi.
Lona has 24 orangutans ready for release. The only area of virgin rainforest not yet threatened by logging is in the north of Kalimantan, 1,000 kilometers away.
Everything that has been changed, and then the helicopter is $900 an hour for 14 hours is $12,600. The orangutans will then be transported by plane from Palangkaraya up to an airport which is about sort of around here. We then tranquilize the animal. They get put into a cage, onto a truck, and they're taken to the airport.
The orangutan population so endangered, Lona is legally required to ensure the orangutans are healthy before they can be released.
We have gathered in Bali to act on the defining issue of our time.
Delegates from 180 countries have arrived in Bali to hammer out a new agreement on climate change. Dorjee still hopes to lock off his deal and announce it at the conference. But unless standing forests are included in the new UN agreement, his business model and the Aceh Green vision remain too risky.
So with the Aceh project, once we've got that developed, we can then talk to Merrill's.
Yes.
If we could pull down one of those real deals, huge. Huge.
Even though he doesn't yet have the signature on the Merrill Lynch deal, Dorjee seizes the moment and arranges a media interview with Associated Press for Governor Irwandi and himself to promote Aceh Green.
depending on the negotiations which are currently occurring right now in Bali, if there are acceptance by the markets, the Kyoto markets, then it could be worth billions.
And what about for the people in Indonesia? So obviously that goes to the company. What about the people back on the ground?
No, absolutely not. Like, our company does not take even close to a large percentage of this money. The fundamental promise that we make is that when you buy a carbon credit from reduced deforestation, we then undertake for about 100 years to stop that deforestation. So the vast bulk of that money will go to local communities in order to prevent them from deforesting.
To get Merrill Lynch to sign up to his deal, Dorjee decides to host a Green Governor's Dinner and invites the governor of Amazonas, the largest state in Brazil. He wants to impress upon the bank's representative in Bali that he can bring big players and their vast forests to the table.
As I said earlier, I'm extremely energized about this. It's one thing meeting people in a boardroom in London, it's another thing coming out here and actually seeing the people who are really dealing with this firsthand.
I personally think that with a good lead investor and with the right structure, you'd pick up so many of these like West Coast, well-moneyed technologists who just love the environment.
I need lots and lots of money to save the world. So
unlocking the capital markets, which represent billions, trillions of dollars, like the balance sheet of Merrill Lynch is $1.3 trillion. We can now leverage that into nature. When you're going to have financiers like these guys meshing with people who make the decisions about where they actually purchase their carbon from.
So it's a perfect plan. It's very clever. You're very clever.
No, not yet.
Your mother's proud of you.
Execution is the more important thing. So right now, we found a colony of 800 orangutans with Fauna Flora International, which is slated for palm oil. We need to be able to move quickly. And I'm sure you guys have your own hot list where you'd like to start, being able to pull triggers on.
As the conference heads into its second week, the world leaders arrive to back their delegations.
A little over a week ago, I had the honour of being elected as Australia's 26th Prime Minister. In my first act as Prime Minister, I signed the formal instrument for Australia to ratify the Kyoto Protocol.
Kevin Rudd's action leaves the United States isolated outside the Kyoto framework and puts extra pressure on them to support the new global agreement.
How will governments reduce emissions after 2012? Well, there's a commitment already, the Kyoto Agreement, for 40 governments to reduce their emissions by an average of 5% below 1990 levels.
America and Australia did not ratify the original Kyoto Protocol. Now the world has come together to draw up the roadmap for a new agreement. Scientific evidence tells us that we need to reduce global carbon emissions by as much as 80% by 2050. As government caps force emissions down, demand for carbon credits will rise, pushing up the price. The delegates have reached a deadlock over the wording of the final declaration. The United States is resisting the imposition of short-term global emission cuts unless China and India and other developing countries are included.
I think that if 25 to 40% is not doable, then we look at carbon credits until it can be doable. And to say we're cutting back on industry severely and immediately is scary for everyone. So let's do something in the interim that may be more appealing to industry, will stop deforestation, and let us all take a breath until we can start cutting back more severely on industry.
The deadlock among delegates is creating a major stumbling block for Dorjee. Merrill Lynch is still waiting to see whether forests will be included in future carbon markets. The delegates now face two challenges. reaching consensus on the Bali roadmap and the inclusion of forests in the next agreement. It's proving very difficult, and the world's biggest player is still obstructing progress.
You know, the formulation that has been put forward we cannot accept because it does represent a significant change in the balance that I think many of us have truly worked towards over the last week. This is an important issue. It's one in which we must act together on.
Thank you, United States. May I continue?
The worst thing that can happen is for our great project with the human race and for our planet Earth to crumble because we cannot find the right wording. The right wording.
The reference by the
Speakers from developing countries take the floor to reprimand, urge and even beg the United States to join consensus on the Bali roadmap.
If for some reason you're not willing to leave it to the rest of us. Please get out of the way.
Chairman, let me say to you that we will go forward and join consensus in this.
Having struggled so hard to reach agreement on the Bali roadmap, the key question of whether protection of forests should be included is put to the vote.
I now invite the conference to adopt a draft decision entitled Reducing Emissions from Deforestation in Developing Countries. Hearing no objections, it is so decided.
Forests are included for the first time in the global plan to tackle climate change.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So we can now protect rainforests? Yes, that's within the thing. Yeah, we've got to. And it actually passed so quickly and easily, you know. Like, that was the genius thing. Like, once the Americans came around and said that they weren't going to oppose the text.
So for me, this is a paradigm shift, and I hope that we can translate this into something real, and that it's only a first step. We have to value biodiversity, we have to value water, we have to value all the other things that forests give us, and this was just a first step. I am happy.
For Dorjee, the decisions in Bali have removed the final roadblocks. His vision now has a hope of becoming a reality.
We've actually gotten a minimum commitment of $9 million US, up to potentially hundreds of millions of dollars, and there are a few models depending on the way pricing will work. But it could be, you know, north of $400 million US for this chunk of forest. It's 750,000 hectares. It has the 5 big biodiversity types. We've got 75% of the remaining orangutan in Sumatra, we've just recently recruited 1,000 ex-combatants to patrol the forest. So, you know, one way that we know that we'll keep the carbon in the trees and the trees in the ground is actually these types of protection schemes. So
we can begin selling the carbon, and that's what's gonna start delivering value to the Aceh Green Initiative.
Driving down the highway, troubles are on my back. Trying to find the right way, ain't no turning back. Fires all around me, troubles are on my mind. This change is gonna break me. I try to leave it all behind. Driving on the highway, now we've come too far. Searching for the right way.
Join the experts from the Burning Season programme for a live 1-hour online forum from 9:30 to 10:30 Eastern Time at abc.net.au/documentaries. Next week, another vital topic for the future of the planet, finding the little seeds that may help save the world from a global food shortage in Seed Hunter, 8:30 next Tuesday night. And on Thursday, join us on Africa's southern coastline, home to over 100 species of shark, more than anywhere else in the world, on Shark Coasts, Thursday night at 6 on ABC One.